Bago matapos ang araw, ating suriin, ating himayin ang mga may init na impormasyon at balita na kinalap ng SMNI Integrated News and Public Affairs. Live mula sa ACQ Tower, Makati City, ito ang SMNI Nightline News with MJ and Admar.
Sandaling ito, usaping geopolitical muna tayo kasama si Professor Ana Malindug. Uy, Prof, maupay na gabi. Admar Vilando kasama si Jason Rubrico sa SMNI Nightline News. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Maraming salamat sa pag-imbatan niyo sa akin dito sa inyong programang Nightline News. Jason and Admar, at ako'y natutuwa at nandito ulit ako. Maraming salamat.
Prof, hindi ba makakaiwas ang isang bansa kung ang dalawang bansa ay merong sigalot at titindi yung kanyang sigalot? Kasi hindi naman ito, meron na tayong halimbawa dyan sa Ukraine and Russia, dyan po sa Israel and Iran, meron din mga kapitbahay na mga bansa din po yan eh. Hindi ba pwedeng hindi masali tayo? Kasi ang nabanggit natin po, nabanggit kasi ng ating Pangulo na hindi maiiwasan na madamay o ma-involve ang Pilipinas sakaling tumindi ang tensyon sa pagitan ng China, Estados Unidos at itong Taiwan.
Actually, hindi ako naniniwala dun sa sinasabi ng ating Pangulong Marcos Jr. na hindi daw maiiwasan na hindi ma-involve ang Pilipinas kapag nagkaroon ng military escalation, or let us say, to be very blunt about it, na halimbawa magkaroon ng military conflict or war dyan sa Taiwan Strait. I don't agree with him on these things, to be very frank, because ako naniniwala na ang kanyang una kasi ang sinasabi ni Marcos Jr. during the time na na-interview siya sa India during yung visit niya, state visit niya sa India na 5 araw I think, ang tinanong kasi sa kanya is all about yung Pilipinas, if in any case the Philippines will get involved in a military conflict or in any case a war that would break out in the Taiwan Strait, na hindi natin alam kung paano mangyayari yun. Kasi ang sinasabi nila invasion of China sa Taiwan, which is I don't believe in it, to be very honest. Ang magkakaroon lang ng military conflict dyan sa Taiwan Strait if the Americans will be involved. Yun lang talaga yan. Kapag the Americans will not get involved, I don't think a military conflict in the Taiwan Strait will erupt or would explode or to that extent. Pero kasi ang sinasabi ni Marcos Jr., hindi daw maiiwasan ng Pilipinas na ma-involve precisely because of 2 reasons. First and foremost, ang sabi niya proximity because of the geography. The second one, ang sinasabi niya is evacuation daw, or dahil marami tayong mga OFW in Taiwan. That is really a wrong assumption. That's a very simplistic view of looking at the situation. First and foremost, yes, geography. Kasi geostrategic ang location natin. But one thing that you have to remember, it's not only the Philippines ang geostrategic ang location. There are other states that are actually within Southeast Asia na geostrategic ang location. Let for example, Vietnam. But what is the difference between Vietnam and the Philippines at the moment when you talk about Marcos Jr. administration? Unang-una, ang Vietnam is very solid sa kanyang posisyon na independent ng foreign policy niya. Wala silang military troops, wala silang military bases, and they are pursuing their own strategic interests through strategic autonomy and independence. So ganun ang posisyon ng Vietnam, at sinasabi ng Vietnam na when it comes to affairs na hindi sila involved or internal affairs, because Taiwan is an internal affairs of China. It's not something that we should interfere because that is already a violation of what you call internal interference in the affairs, domestic affairs of a state. So basic yan dapat. At saka tayo Pilipinas, we accordingly we adhere to one China policy, which is the basis of what you call official diplomatic ties ng Pilipinas at ng China. So dapat talaga, basic yan, hindi ka mag-interfere sa affairs or sa anything that has something to do with Taiwan, because Taiwan, again, is part of China. Ang sinasabi niya, proximity, ang geostrategic interest, ang proximity. No, I don't think so. Mai-involve lang ang Pilipinas kung ang gobyerno niya, katulad ng gobyerno ngayon ni Marcos Jr., choose to be involved and choose to get involved. In a way, ang mangyayari dyan, kasi madadrag ka in a way sa conflict dyan if in any case, of course, we don't want that to happen, sa Taiwan Strait dahil ang mga Amerikano nasa Pilipinas. You have the 9 EDCA sites. These are military bases of the Americans facing Taiwan, and many of them are located near Taiwan. So in a way, kapag ginamit yan, at saka yung ibang EDCA sites facing South China Sea, kasi the sea are connected, talagang madadrag tayo. But not necessarily because we want to. Precisely because sa panahon ni Marcos Jr., pinapagamit niya ang Pilipinas sa mga Amerikano when it comes to military bases, when it comes to military troops, when it comes to deployment of military high-level assets like Typhoon missile system and others, na high-level, high-grade military assets na nakastock sa Pilipinas. Ang tanong, bakit yan nandyan sa Pilipinas? Is it for our own internal defense? Of course not. It is for the strategic interest of the United States vis-a-vis China and to operationalization ng Amerika dyan. One is South China Sea, pero mahirap ang South China Sea kasi maraming claimant states. On the other hand is the Taiwan Strait. So may involve ka lang kung hahayaan ng gobyerno natin na ma-involve ka. At hahayaan mo na maging forward-based ka ng Amerikano over Taiwan against China or maging launching pad ka ang iyong teritoryo. But if the government will not allow that, then we will not get involved. Second point ni Marcos Jr., which I don't agree, is evacuation ng ating tinatawag na overseas Filipino workers sa Taiwan. Yes, I know, marami tayo dyan. I've been to Taiwan many times. I've known Taiwan in terms of its location, in terms of what it is as a region. Marami tayo talagang mga kababayan na nandun, nagtatrabaho, maganda ang buhay nila, nag-earn sila ng malaking pera. However, when you talk about evacuation, it is a humanitarian issue. It is not something that has something to do with war, or it's not something to be used as a basis for being engaged in a war that is not our own making at wala tayong pakialam dyan at hindi natin yan issue, and at the same time we will not survive if we will be dragged into it. In any case, something happened there. So hindi ako naniniwala kasi ang evacuation is a humanitarian. Ang masusolve mo yung issue na yan by coordination, protocols, and katulad ngayon, di ba? May what happened in Ukraine. A war broke out in there. So what we did as a country, kung may mga tao tayo, mga Filipino tayo doon, it's a humanitarian issue. We coordinate with proper authorities para mailabas natin ng mabuti ang ating mga kababayan. Ganon din ang mangyayari dyan if in any case. But of course, God forbid, sana wala, because the whole region will be affected and we will be affected, of course, in many ways. So yun yung sinasabi ko. Kaya hindi ako nag-agree kay Marcos Jr. na sinasabi niya, madadrag ang Pilipinas because of our OFW and our geo proximity. It's always a choice. We always have a choice as a country kung magiging neutral tayo sa mga issues na ganito o hindi. Now, the problem with Marcos Jr. is he's not neutral. Even in his own thinking, he's not neutral. And he puts the country in that very dangerous position. In the very first place, wala tayo, matutupok tayo. Kasi ang unang titirahin dyan, kapag nagkaroon ng conflict, is syempre, ang Pilipinas, kasi nasa atin ang mga bases na malapit sa Taiwan ng Amerika. So katulad din yan ng Second World War. Why is it that na-drag ang Pilipinas sa Second World War at tayo ang tinira at pinulbos din tayo ng mga Japanese? It's precisely because during that time, the biggest contingent in terms of military arms and military boots on the ground and even military bases during the Second World War was nasa Pilipinas. Kaya tayo din ay tinarget. It's precisely because of that. Then history will repeat itself. Kasi ngayon din, sa panahon na to, makikita mo na ang mga military assets sa Asia Pacific region ay ngayon pinipivot ng United States to the Philippines kasi ginagawa nga tayong proxy and pawn ng Amerika. And even just today, I read a news na nandyan ata sa Pilipinas ang isa sa mga officer or official ng isang defense think tank, American defense think tank, at inaamin niya na ngayon may may defense and military shift focus ang United States from Europe, from Middle East going to Indo-Pacific, which is the Asia-Pacific region basically. At sinasabi nila na they would want to focus on the Philippines and finance the Philippines or put more arms and weapons in the Philippines. Kasi the Philippines is a geostrategic, very strategic ang posisyon ng Pilipinas. And ang inaamin din nila na ang kanilang competitor talaga is China. So you can see, even the Americans, they are not lying about this. They're already giving us the idea na gano'n ang mangyayari sa Pilipinas. Ang tanong lang dito lagi, Jason and Admar, is kung papayag ang gobyerno ng Pilipinas na gawin siyang pawn, gawin siyang launchpad, or gawin siyang forward base. Ngayon, kung pumapayag si BBM, talagang mangyayari sa atin yun. Now, kung hindi siya papayag, at babaguhin niya ang kanyang foreign policy at ang kanyang trajectory ng kanyang foreign policy, then we will be spared from any kind of harm at magsusurvive ang Pilipinas.
Ang nakikita niyo po ba rito is China versus Taiwan indirectly sa US? Parang yung kagaya sa nangyari din sa na hindi direkta na ang US yung magiging kalaban kung titindi yung tensyon na sinasabi po ni President Bongbong Marcos. Natanong ko po ito kasi di po ba meron tayong MDT, no? At doon sa MDT na yon, ang sinasabi naman doon kung tayo mismo ang lulusubin or kung lulusubin man yung Estados Unidos, kumbaga may obligasyon tayo na tumulong, no? Parang pero di ko lang alam kung ipagpapaalam pa ba yan sa ating Kongreso ba or sa ating gobyerno. Pero doon, malinaw doon na yung US at kung Pilipinas yung atakin or yung US, may obligasyon ang dalawang bansa. Pero kung ito, if Taiwan naman yung magiging kalaban ng China rito, may obligasyon ba tayo doon sa may kagaya ba tayong MDT with Taiwan naman, Prof?
Actually, hindi dapat tayo ma-involve dyan kasi ang MDT is very specific kapag ang Pilipinas ang inatake. However, ang tricky part kasi ng MDT is like this. It's supposed to be a mutual thing. So, ibig sabihin, kapag inatake ang United States at hiniling ng United States na tulungan, magiging effective ang MDT. So, we need to respond kasi treaty ally natin siya. Tsaka may tinatawag ng mutuality ng kinatawag mong MDT. However, ang tanong kasi doon, in the very first place, alam ng United States na Taiwan is an internal affairs of China. So magiging magkakaroon ka ng technicalities dyan na why would the United States be engaged in the internal affairs of China. So that's one technicality when you talk about international law. On the other hand, ang Pilipinas, to be very strict, hindi ka dapat makialam talaga dyan. Kasi unang-unang point dyan, ang MDT hindi sakop yan. Pangalawa is internal affairs yan. So kapag pumasok tayo ma-involve tayo dyan, para na rin nating tinapon sa basurahan yung tinatawag mong One China policy, and at the same time, you violated the basic doctrine in the international relation, even the United Nations Charter, na sinasabi nga na a country should never interfere in the domestic affairs of another country. So dapat malinaw yun sa ating pag-iisip bilang mga Pilipino at ng gobyerno. Pero at the end of the day kasi, ang problema kasi ngayon sa Pilipinas, kung may strategic autonomy or may independent strategic thinking ang gobyerno ni BBM, because I can see na parang wala. So yun yung malaking problema kasi everything can be justified. And one more thing that you have to understand, when you talk about the Mutual Defense Treaty, hindi siya automatic. There's no such thing as automatic dyan. Pinag-uusapan muna yan sa Congress, and as far as the United States is concerned, pag-uusapan yan sa Kongreso kung ano ang mangyayari. Kasi alam mo, very tricky kasi ang sitwasyon ng when you talk about military conflict and war. Hindi natin kasi alam how it starts. Kasi baka naman may miscalculation on the ground tapos hindi ang Amerika ang mag-start niyan, or baka naman ang Pilipinas pa ang mag-start ng fire. So yun yung mga bagay na we need to be very careful kasi baka mamaya hindi naman talaga ang United States ang gagawin nila, sila ang direct na makikipag-engage into a conflict. Baka they will use a pawn just like what they have done in Ukraine. Pero dapat kasi malinaw sa utak ng Pilipino na hindi natin problema yan at hindi natin issue yan. We should not interfere in that. Kasi I'm telling you din, one thing that you have to remember, when it comes to the Taiwan Strait question, this is really the red line of China. China will not negotiate, will never blink on this issue. Sabi ko nga, matagal ko nang sinasabi, when you talk about the South China Sea, China will negotiate as much as it can. Pero when you talk about the red line, I don't think so. So, asahan nyo na talagang pag may nangyari dyan, magre-retaliate din talaga. I mean, China will act also based on what will happen on the ground. So, ito yung mga bagay na I don't understand kung naiintindihan ng ating mga officials ng BBM administration o hindi. Or naiintindihan ba talaga ni BBM ito o hindi? Kasi parang feeling ko, it's either two things lang nakikita ko kay BBM. It's either hindi niya talaga naiintindihan ito, anong consequences ng mga sinasabi niya, especially when you talk about interviews, because he is the president. He is the commander-in-chief. Lahat ng sasabihin niya in public, it means policy. It will be construed as a policy or policies. So dapat maingat ka. Kasi pag tinignan ka ng ibang bansa, ang sasabihin nila, that's the policy of the Philippine government or of the Philippines. Then if that's the policy, this is what we're gonna do. So ang problema, sa kanya lang yun. Paano yung mga Pilipino hindi naman gusto? Ang tanong ko, gusto ba ng mga Pilipino ang gera na masali ka sa gera na hindi mo naman alam at hindi ka naman nag-start? And one thing, gusto ko lang din ipasok kasi kanina hindi ko na-mention. Ang justification ni BBM is marami tayong OFWs daw na sa Taiwan na nagtatrabaho. One thing that you have to remember, there are other countries in Southeast Asia na marami din mga OFWs, hindi lang Pilipinas. Andyan ang Malaysia, andyan even ang Vietnam, andyan even ang Indonesia. They also have a lot of OFWs. But look, did you hear any head of state of these countries saying the same thing as what BBM have said in that interview in India? No. And they're also due strategic location. This country are also placed in very strategic location in Southeast Asia, vis-a-vis South China Sea and even vis-a-vis Taiwan Strait. So may narinig na ba kayong head of state na nagsalita, na tulad ng pagsasalita ni BBM sa mga interviews niya? Wala pa. Because these are sensitive issues na dapat maingat ang isang presidente, ang isang commander-in-chief, magbigay ng pahayag at magbigay ng kanyang mga statements. Kasi it will be construed as a policy or policies ng ibang bansang nakikinig. Lalo na nung bansang pinapatukuyan niya. Now, ang tanong ko rin is, ano ba talaga ang gusto ni BBM? Gusto ba niya talaga ang gera? Oh my God, I'm not kidding. The Philippines will disappear in the map if that's the case.
Prof, ito bang naging pahayag ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. ay bilang isang geopolitical analyst ay nakita nyo na noon pa na ganito ang magiging pahayag ng Pangulo?
Magandang tanong yan, Jason. This is the first, I think not necessarily the first time na narinig natin ito, ngunit ang packaging lang ng pagsasalita ang naiba. Pero narinig na natin ito sa AFP chief natin, 'di ba? Si Brunner, before, few months back, I think. But this year, I think, kasi sinasabi niya that the Philippines at ang mga, hindi exact words na sinabi niya, but ito yung meaning ng sinasabi, yung essence ng sinabi niya na ang Pilipinas ay dapat maghanda. It's precisely because pag nagkaroon daw ng eventuality in the Taiwan Strait, the Philippines will get involved and because of the quote-unquote evacuation of our how do you call that, of our OFWs. Kaya nga nagkaroon sila, 'di ba, ng diyan sa may Batanes area, which is very near to Taiwan, nagkaroon sila diyan mayroon diyan tinatayo actually na US military outpost, tawag nito port. But it's actually funded by the United States, I think, from what I know. I'm not sure if, correct me if I'm right, but that's what I know. And at the same time, nagkaroon din ng secret na mga dealings with the Taiwan, quote-unquote, government na regional, kasi it's a region, the provincial government, nila doon ng secret, how do you call that, security arrangements or kind of engagement between our Coast Guard and their Coast Guard and even security personnel. Now, may nag-travel pa papuntang Taiwan na nakipag-usap na nagalit nga actually si Lazaro on that because that is compromising the One China policy. I've read the report. So I kind of know these things. So ang sinasabi ko, hindi ito bago. Si BBM, nasabi lang niya yan dahil alam na niya yan at hindi niya siguro alam paano i-package ang sasabihin niya doon sa interview niya. But this is not a new thing. We have already heard it from Brunner before, few months back, and also there are reports na may mga sekretong dealings ang Philippine government under the president's within the presidency of Marcos Jr. With the Taiwan quote-unquote regional or provincial authorities na may kinalaman sa security, which is actually a violation of what you call One China policy. Kaya ang China, na ano talaga dito, parang, actually, inis na sila dyan, pero they control themselves and they're really exercising what you call extreme restraint. Pero this is one thing that I cannot, when it comes to these things, we need to be very careful kasi, oh my God, ang problema ng Pilipinas is just because you have, it's like this, no? Parang feeling kasi ng Pilipinas is para tayong isang maliit na insekto na nakatungtong kunyari sa isang kalabaw. At feeling naman natin tayo ang kalabaw. Ang kalabaw is referring to the United States being the superpower. Feeling natin tayo ang kalabaw. Hindi. Tayo yung maliit na insekto na kunyari lang nakatungtong sa kalabaw. Pero ang kalabaw, pag yan may sarili siyang strategic interest, kapag nagkataon, iiwanan ka rin yan kapag nagkagit-gitan na at naiipit na siya sa sarili niyang interest. At hindi na feeling niya, you're already, hindi na kita kailangan, bahala ka na sa buhay mo. And there are a lot of examples in the world that itong examples na to na magpapakita kung ano talaga ang United States when it comes to these geopolitical issues. Andyan ang Vietnam, andyan ang Afghanistan, andyan ang Syria, andyan ang Ukraine, at so many others. Andyan ang Iraq. So, dapat maging tanda ito sa mga Pilipino at maging maingat tayo when it comes to these issues kasi we're not a big country, we're a small country, we're struggling, at ang dami nating mga domestic na mga problema na dapat siguro unahin muna natin yan, palakasin muna natin ang ating ekonomiya at ating, at isolve natin ang korupsyon sa Pilipinas before pa natin i-insist yung sarili natin na maging part ng gulo na hindi naman nating gulo. So Jason, it's not the first time. We heard about this. There are manifestations on it. Ang tanong lang ngayon is, bakit hindi naaayos ito at bakit hindi ito nako-correct? It's precisely because probably that is really what Marcos Jr. wants. Siguro, ito rin ang dikta sa kanya ng kanyang mga friends na mga Amerikano. Na ito yung ito yung gagawin natin, ito yung sasabihin mo, ito yung talking points mo.
Yes,
yun yung basa ko eh.
Prof, with this, hindi ba mas makakabuti po sa Pilipinas na manatiling neutral at magtulak po ng peace dialogue sa halip po na magmukhang kalyado sa isa sa mga nagbabagayang superpower? And with this po, ano kayong alternative na strategy na pwedeng gawin ng Pilipinas para manatiling neutral, ngunit handang ipagtanggol ang soberanya bukod po dito sa pagkiling o sa pag-asa po ng sa military presence ng Estados Unidos sa Pilipinas?
Okay, very good question, Jason. First pala kanina, yung kanina pala nakalimutan ko na may sinabi din tungkol sa yung not only evacuation at yung deployment din ata ng mga military assets sa Pilipinas is connected to the fact na tayo nagigitna sa tinatawag mong great power or major power rivalry in the Asia Pacific. Ang involved diyan ay ang China, ang United States basically. So ang tanong mo, paano natin mai-insulate ang Pilipinas sa ganitong possibilities? Kasi hindi to joke. Ito ay seryosong bagay na kailangan nating isipin at kailangan nating tignan kung paano maiiwasan ng Pilipinas magitna sa mga nag-uumpugang malalaking bato. Kasi talagang ikaw ang matitira dyan, ikaw ang kawawa dyan. First and foremost, I think we have to remember that neutrality is a choice. We need to be neutral. So how are you gonna operationalize yung pagiging neutral mo? First and foremost, stop the deployment of military assets, high-level military assets of the Americans on Philippine soil. That's one thing. Pangalawa, recalibrate what you call EDCA sites. Delikado yan. Third is yung tinatawag mong military boots on the ground. Dapat i-review mo yung BFA, review the MDT, review all of this of these military agreements and defense agreements with the United States. Then talk to China and tell China the Philippines is neutral. Even especially when you talk about the red line. We are neutral, this is our policy. And then recalibrate your foreign policy to be in the middle of everyone. Stop making this kind of statements coming from Gibo, coming from from Marcos Jr. and even coming from Brunner. Dapat alam nila yun. Kasi kahit pag sinabi ni Gibo, ibig sabihin, yun ang policy na siguro inuutos din ni BBM. Kasi at the end of the day, si Gibo is alter ego ni BBM. So ibig sabihin, si BBM siya in the person of Gibo. Kasi siya ang secretary ng defense. So may ganon. So stop all of these things. And also, one thing that you have to remember, there is a shift in the focus ng AFP right now. Ang sabi nila, hindi na daw internal defense and internal ang kanilang focus kundi external defense na. Ang tanong ko sa kanya, ano at sino ang kaaway ng Pilipinas para magkaroon ka ng focus on external defense rather than internal defense na in the Philippines, we have the NPAs still. Andyan pa yung mga NPAs, andyan pa yung mga ang longest insurgents sa Pilipinas. At yun dapat ang tutukan mo kasi yan ay nagkukos ng problema sa peace and order all across the country. Pero nilipat nila naging external defense. Ang tanong, why? Sino ba ang tinuturing na kaaway ng Pilipinas kaya magkakaroon ka ng external defense? Dalawa lang yan. It's either you consider China for that external defense or not, or external defense precisely because you're dragging the country to any kind of military conflict in the region being orchestrated by the United States. So yun. Isa yun sa mga signs kung bakit nagkaroon ng pivot to external defense. So ito yung mga bagay na dapat baguhin, ilagay sa tamang direksyon ng gobyerno at lalo na ni BBM. Kasi si BBM ang sole author at saka architect ng foreign policy. Kung pwede ko lang may advocate na, alam mo yon, cut down on all of this defense, military, how do you call that? Too much of it with the NATO allies. Kasi ang problema, hindi lang naman with the United States. Karamihan ng ginagawa ng Pilipinas is forging some kind of defense and military agreements. Ang kalalabasan niyan is more on militarization of the Philippines by other countries, especially NATO allies and the United States, na hindi ko maintindihan, why do you have to focus on that when there are other things na dapat mong i-focus? I think you need to recalibrate that. Kung hindi naman kailangan, kasi at this time, to be frank, these are not deterrents. If the Philippines, the ultimate deterrence when you talk about geopolitics and when you talk about military conflict is nuclear power. When you talk about nuclear arm or nuclear military capacity, yun yung ultimate deterrent. Kaya nga countries like Iran, North Korea, they have that. It's precisely because that's the ultimate deterrent. But trying to have, like for example, asking United States or welcoming United States to deploy all of this military assets in the United States is not a deterrent at all. It's not even, we will not be at par with a country like China if that's what you want to. Kasi gina-justify ni Gibo na deterrent siya, pero it's not really. So ang aking suggestion dyan is reduce on this or recalibrate all of these things, focus on economy, focus on diversifying partnership, not just not too much on NATO allies, but countries in the region. Cooperation, military, defense, cooperation with the region, but not alliance. Because alliance is too tight. So yun yung mga bagay na dapat siguro isipin ng ating gobyerno. At yun ang kanilang bigyan ng focus. Hindi yung tipong,
yes, Prof.
Para na tayo 51 state of the United States sa sitwasyon natin under a BBM government. It's not good for us. In the long run, it's not good. But ang problema nga, ang lakas-lakas natin when it comes to this defense, pinapagamit natin ang Pilipinas sa Amerika. Pero when you talk about the economy, the Americans are not putting money for our economy. Actually, ang ginagawa nila, they are extorting resources from us dahil dyan sa tariff trade war at saka sa open market policy na ini-impose ni Trump. So, napaka-lopsided ng sitwasyon at relationship natin with the United States. BBM, kung talagang gusto niya at mahal niya ang Pilipinas, itama mo yan, balansehin mo yan. Because that's the only way for the country to survive in the long run. 3 years pa siya sa opisina niya at 3 years pa tayong we will always be on the edge kapag ganito ang sitwasyon.
Yes, Prof. Prof, you've mention something, yung a word po na balanse. So posible po ba na mabalanse po ng pamahalaan ng relasyon ito between China and the US nang hindi nasasakripisyo yung pabansang kalayaan at ekonomiya ng bansa? And follow-up question, kung meron po ba from the previous administration na kanilang na-i-practice o na-ipatupad itong independent foreign policy effectively na pwede pong ma-copy-paste, pwedeng maggaya ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos?
Okay, very good question again, Jason. First and foremost, kung pwede, under a BBM government, ang tinatawag mong balanced foreign policy, neutral foreign policy, and independent foreign policy. To be honest with you, it's a decision that Marcos Jr. has to make. Nasa kamay niya yon kung gagawin niya. Pero at this time, ang foreign policy ng Pilipinas is not balanced, is not neutral, it's not independent. It's really under the thumb of the United States. That's really the reality of the situation. Now, ang tanong mo kasi sa akin, kung kayang gawin. Well, there's nothing impossible in this world. Kung kayang gawin, kaya. Pero it takes a political will, a strong political will on the part of the president to put it neutral, to turn the tide into neutrality. Na from this side, punta ka sa gitna, declare neutrality and balansehin mo. And then talk to China and then, negotiate with China kung ano yung mga issues mo with China. And then tell China that, we will be neutral on these issues. And again, but you need to have the political will to do that. And the question is, may political will ba si Marcos Jr. to even do that? Because at the end of the day, it's his decision, it's his responsibility, and he is the sole author of foreign policy. So nasa kanyang kamay yan. Pero ang tanong mo sa akin, kung pwede, pero it depends on him. Nasa kanyang kamay yan. Ang tanong nga sa mga Pilipino at sa atin, tanong natin, ano bang tingin natin kay Marcos Jr.? May political will ba o wala? Yun ang malaking tanong. Kasi sa akin, I don't see him having that political will. Now, well, it's up to Marcos Jr. to prove me and other people wrong. Kung talagang may political will siya, then he needs to do something about this. Yun yung sagot ko sa first question mo. Sa second question mo, kung ang previous administration ni former President Duterte na-implement ang tinatawag natin independent foreign policy, yes. I would say yes. Because anong manifestation doon? We have, ang relationship ni Digong with the United States was not perfect. And what's not really it's not really rosy in every sense. But there was that relation. In a way, we had a very, what you call civil relations. Parang, civil lang na relasyon with the United States na there are still, communication, partnership, and anything. Kasi makikita naman yun. Trump was the president at that time, tapos si Duterte president. Makikita mo, good ang kanilang, meron silang rapport, they talk, and in a way, we had that kind of calm relationship with the United States, but the United States cannot dictate our foreign policy during the time of President Duterte. That's one thing. And then we have good relation with Russia, and it was very evident. We have good relation with China, and it was evident. And also we had good relation with India and the rest of the South China, the rest of Asia Pacific. And relatively speaking, the South China Sea dispute was very, how do you call that? Hindi ko sinabi na walang challenges. There were challenges, may mga nangyayari din, pero hindi siya tulad ngayon na every now and then may nangyayari dyan na minsan hindi mo alam, baka may miscalculation dyan, it will escalate into a military conflict. Hindi ganon ang sitwasyon ng time na yon. And one thing that you have to remember, during the time of Duterte, ang mga mangingisda sa Scarborough Shoal ng mga Pilipino nakakapangisda kasi meron silang tinatawag na parang understanding between the two governments na okay, alam nating may conflict dyan, pero please, let's behave as let's behave as rational actors, and okay, pwede bang mapangisda yung aking mga tao dyan sa Scarborough Shoal? Nakakapangisda before, during the time of Duterte. Pero ngayon, no, walang ganon. So yun yung sinasabi. Pero ang tanong kasi, may political will ba si Duterte during his time na gawin ang dapat niyang gawin at sabihin niya na okay, in my administration, I have to have this independent foreign policy. I have to be neutral. I have to have good relation with every major power na mayroon ang mundo. Katulad ng United States, China, Russia, and all. Yes, he had that political will. Don't forget, Duterte was also under pressure by the Americans. I know these things because I have good American friends who were before working in Washington, and I discussed this with them. Yes, there were pressure on Duterte na ipivot, talagang maging leaning ang foreign policy niya towards the United States. But Duterte had that political will saying na no, kami ang magde-decide kung ano ang gusto namin para sa bansa namin when it comes to international relations. Hindi kayo, kami to. So he had that strong political will, and it happened. I'm not saying that it was a perfect independent foreign policy, but to say the least, it was independent in many ways. So yun yung kaibahan noon at ngayon. So ang tanong ko, babalik ko, yes, with the 3 years in office ni BBM, there is still time to put everything in a right trajectory, to spare the country from any military conflict in the region, and also to preserve your what you call strategic autonomy and sovereignty. Yet you still have good relation with everyone and equidistant sa major powers na naglalaro sa Asia-Pacific. Kaya, pero ang tanong, may political will ba si BBM to do that? Strong political will is needed. Second, would BBM be willing to do that? Kasi ang problema ni BBM, he needs the Americans for him to survive. Without the Americans, there's the possibility magka-crumble ang kanyang gobyerno. So yun yung problema niya. Ngayon, nasa kanya yun. Kung ako ang tatanungin mo, pwede. Pero ang tanong, kaya ba ni BBM gawin yon? Yun yung tanong. Kasi during the time of Duterte, he was really strong as a leader and he had that political will. And yun ang kailangan ng isang leader. Yun yung kailangan mo bilang isang leader. Kung kaya mo. Yun
Prof,
yun.
Alam naman, ito panghuling tanong na lang po bago ko po ibigay ulit kay kapartner Admar. Alam naman po natin talaga na yung sole author ng foreign policy ay ang presidente. Especially po sa yung mga relasyon natin sa mga iba't ibang bansa. Presidente po talaga ang may decision yan. Pero ano po kaya ang magagawa ng mga ordinaryong Pilipino? Maghihintay na lang po ba tayo? Ano po ba yung pwedeng gawin natin para maipromote natin yung interest ng Pilipinas at the same time promoting good relationship with the other countries and promoting peace with internal and external po?
Well, malaki ang ginagampanan ng ating mga kababayan at tayo mga Pilipino kung paano ma-shape up ang gobyerno sa tamang landas. Una, we need to make them accountable. We need to demand accountability. Kasi at the end of the day, si BBM, nanalo siya, it's because of us. At ang accountability niya, nasa atin. Hindi nasa United States, nasa Pilipinas at nasa mga Pilipino accountability ni BBM. Sa lahat ng policies niya, may it be domestic or external policies vis-a-vis the world. So, dapat tayo, alam natin yung mga nangyayari and we make them accountable. How are we gonna do that? Well, of course, by expressing our freedom of expression, freedom of speech, that's one thing. So, we should exercise what you call active citizenship. Makialam tayo sa mga nangyayari sa bayan at mag-express natin kung ano na ba talaga ang nangyayari sa Pilipinas at anong experience natin sa mga nangyayari. At mag-express din tayo kung we are in favor of some policies ng gobyerno or not. Like for example, ang foreign policy. Kasi very important yung foreign policy. The Philippines is not an island. Kung anong nangyayari sa buong mundo, kapiktado tayo at kung anong moves natin na makaapektuhan din yung ibang bayan. So, dapat ganon ang gagawin natin. Pangalawa, so yun yung I think very important sa mga Pilipino. You have to, express that what you call active citizenship. Well, we have 3 years to go under a BBM administration. Ang susunod nating panahon para sa mga Pilipino na maging ma-exercise mo yung tinatawag mong yung supreme power ng mga Pilipino is through votes, yung voting process. So 2028 pa yon. So siguro, ngayon makikita natin ang sitwasyon ng Pilipinas. Alam naman natin kung sino mga nakaupo sa gobyerno. Isipin natin, ito yung mga tulad nila. So the next election, which is a national presidential election, siguro naman natuto na tayo, no? At gagamitin na natin ang sarili nating right to vote in a way na talagang would make, would create change, a real change in the country. Yung clamor natin before 2026 that we want to have a change, kaya nga na-elect si Digong, dapat siguro ibalik natin yung ganung passion by 2028. Now, we really need to have that change in the Philippines na hopefully magtuloy-tuloy. Kasi ngayon na-disrupt. Kasi itong si BBM, ang continuity promise niya, lahat naman ibinaliwala niya. Ito yung problema niya. Ang pangatlo siguro, bilang mga Pilipino, siguro we also need to promote peace inside the country and even externally. Externally, I think, we need, one thing that we have to remember, the strength of a state-to-state relation, yung country-to-country, government-to-government relation. Ang foundation kasi niyan is people-to-people relation. Like for example, when you talk about the bilateral relation between China and the Philippines, very challenged, very tension-driven because of the South China Sea and other issues, may conflict sa state level. Pero siguro bilang mga Pilipino, we can be good friends with the Chinese as people. And we can have different exchanges in tourism, academics, even cultural, food, anything that between people. Kasi kapag matibay ang relasyon din ng mga tao sa tao, kapwa sa kapwa, in a matter of time, titibay din at gaganda din ang relasyon ng state-to-state relations ng dalawang bansa. Kasi ang foundation talaga niyan is people-to-people relation. However, ang mahirap lang ngayon, syempre, iba yung palisiya ng BBM government, very antagonistic to China, but still at the end of the day, nababalanse kasi yung antagonism ng Philippine government to China kapag ang relationship ng mga Pilipino to the Chinese in terms of people-to-people is very good. So, nababalanse naman. So, kailangan din natin gawin yan na, we have to show to the world na the Filipino people are peace-loving, courteous, respectful, and we're intelligent people, that we know also that, our government, sometimes we don't agree with the government's policy. So makikita din naman yan ng mga ibang lahi, tulad ng mga Chinese and even other nationalities. So dapat ganon.
Prof, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras at panahon ngayong gabi sa ulitin. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. At I want to say hello to Pastor Kibuloy. Hello po, sir. Hopefully you're okay. Thank you so much.
Maraming salamat. Si Professor Ana Malindog Uy, siya pong geopolitical analyst na kasama natin. Napag-usapan natin usapuing geopolitical. Oras natin 10:21 na po ng gabi. Magbabalik pa ang SMNI Nightline News.
Tutukan ang SMNI Nightline News with MJ and Admar.